welcome to the Environmental Energy Committee. I'm going to go ahead and take some cards before, I think we're going to be joined by Mr. Koretz in a few minutes. Let's take up Estela Lopez. Are you here? Estela Lopez, you filled out a card for item number 4. You have 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I just simply wanted to go on the record in terms of the HOPE teams and the cleanup. I think we're dealing with, and you probably already know this very well, we're dealing with heightened expectations in the community. When a cleanup is scheduled and the postings are done, the community expects the cleanup to be done. So today, as you talk about the resources, I know that they are very, very limited. But we also have to be realistic when we talk to the community, because if your encampment is not number 1 or number 2 on the list for a particular day of cleanup, you are not going to get that cleanup, and you will not be scheduled for the next day. You will be scheduled the next time that there are resources available. That tends to be a real problem, certainly for your offices, certainly for someone in my position at the BID. I should have said I'm director of the Industrial District BID, because people's expectations are that when those postings are made and when the announcement is made that there is going to be a cleanup, that there will be a cleanup. So somewhere between the resource limitations that you have and the expectations that the public has, there's a disconnect. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that was item number 4 that she spoke on. I have cards from Herman and Mr. Spindler. Do you want to both come up? You both have 3 minutes each. Each one of you filled out cards for items 1 through 5, including public comments, so you get 3 minutes each to discuss your 5 items that you filled out a card for, including your 1 minute of public comment, for a total of 3 minutes each. You want to go? Who wants to go first?
You or me?
I'll go first.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Now that we have these concerns regarding Mr. Weezar, for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power to report on how their infrastructure operates, isn't it obvious that more pipes in our city have been bursting? Isn't it obvious that we haven't built enough infrastructure to correct this? So what are you doing with the money? Where's the goddamn money? Then you go to item 2. It's not too important regarding waste by 2025. Well, when you say waste, just stick to the term that we all understand. Shit. See this green bag in my hand? I pick up shit in LA all day long and all night long. That's what the dark night does. And then when I go into item number 3, and negotiations for the partnership of City of Long Beach, what the hell are we doing in Long Beach? LA has its own problems. Co-ownership and what? Operation of the Southeast Resource Recovery Facility? Regarding what? Solid waste? No, it's called shit. The same shit all the bureaucrats deal with in the big city of Los Angeles. You notice I called it the big city. Big city for corruption, big city to pay to play. And then I go to best item of all. HHH, no expectations. Isn't that what the lady speaker said in the beginning of this conversation? Weezar O'Farrell, Carol Goodson, isn't that what we've been talking about? The homeless outreach? We don't need no more goddamn homeless outreach. We don't need it. Spend the goddamn money to fix the problem you created. All these years of abuse on humans, on humanity, no further. Can't imagine a world without homelessness anymore. I got used to it. You white niggers like homelessness. You Uncle Toms really enjoy seeing people suffer. African Americans and the other criteria of LGBT people that are in the goddamn street being homeless. Isn't that something you should be praising yourself for? Isn't it? Because I'm fucking sick and tired of seeing homeless people on our streets. Spent the $132 million and do a goddamn good job with it. Fuck LA.
Yay! Yay.
3 minutes.
So, for the record, I just want to point out the fat slob Borkaretz is here on the quorum.
That's not the item on the...
Now you have a quorum. So, now, Nuri's acting bad. Number one, to instruct Department of Water Power Works regarding DWP. DWP is a criminal entity. We do not want to deal with them anymore. No, and number one, they have no infrastructure. They claim an 8% profit. They steal $250 million and filter it to you tax-free, which is money laundering and fraud. Number two, solid waste is called shoot. That's right, yes, that's right. Solid waste is shoot. And you know that you want to, relative to shoot, integrated resource plan and its final integration plan. It's nothing but shoot. Yes, a bunch of shit. Number three is also including shoot. And Long Beach has a lot of shoot. And that's why the homeless also shoot out in the streets. Yes, it's horrible. Urine, feces, bed bugs, filth, waste, and shoot all over Van Nuys Boulevard, all over CD6. And you know, and over where Mr. Koretz's district ends and yours is, you do a fucked up job on Burbank Boulevard. Poor Koretz, he does a good job on his side. Your side, it looks like shoot. You haven't cleaned up the homeless encampments on Burbank. Shoot. They're still sitting all over the place, looking at the Jewish people across from the golf course on Encino Park. You fucking people are shoot. You don't like this at all. Now, finally, when you see problems in CD6, play the audio.
Are you done?
This is public comment.
We're not going to be doing that. You're either going to speak or I'm going to ask you to leave.
Well, you play this in CD6 when you deal with matters of solid waste. Yes, so you open your window and you put the song on, and then when you see pimps and people pissing and urinating and throwing condoms and shoot out in the street, you call 311 and say, Nuri, where is the problem? Nuri, it's in CD6. I'm looking for someone to pick up the shoot. It's not in CD5 because Koretz does a good job with his staff. Nuri doesn't, she doesn't do shoot.
Thank you. Sit down.
Thank you.
Members, thank you, Mr. Koretz, for joining us. We're going to go ahead with, if there's no objection, I'd like to move items 3, 4, and 5 on consent. Is that okay? Okay, without objection, that would be the order. Let's go ahead and take up item 1 and 2. Gentlemen, if you're not going to behave, this is not childcare. If you're not going to behave in this committee, I'm going to ask you to leave. Can I have the department to come and speak on items 1 and 2, please?
Certainly, Madam Chair. Items 1 and 2 relate to the first one, motion Martinez-Huizar relative to the Bureau of Sanitation and DWP reporting on how their operations incorporate environmental justice principles and opportunities to further support environmental justice burden communities. Number 2, report from the CIO and Bureau of Sanitation relative to the Solid Waste Integrated Resources Plan and its final EIR.
All right, thanks. So we're going to take item 1 and 2, but before we go on to the presentation on item 2, I just want the department to speak a little bit about what is your notion of environmental justice in terms of how you apply your decision-making process to operations and infrastructure. I want us to get into a little bit about what your definition of that is.
Great.
Who wants to go?
Lisa Mowry, Chief Financial Officer, LA Sanitation. Our mission statement is to protect public health and the environment. So obviously environmental justice is very key to that. We have embraced the environmental justice principles and embedded them in our daily activities and our decision making. For instance, one of the things that we've done over the past several years is converting our fleet first to clean fuel to reduce the impact we have on the communities we serve. And now we're moving forward with the next step, which is testing out electric refuse collection vehicles so that we can take and even just take it to the next level in the future. We've also converted closed landfills that previously were seen as a negative in the communities in which they were sited, and have converted them into recreational facilities, open space, amenities for the community to really change that dynamic. We do consider environmental justice principles in the development of our programs, the siting of our facilities, to make sure that in doing something for the greater environmental good for the city, that we don't have a disproportionate impact on a particular area of the city. One of the other things we do, since we do have facilities throughout the city, is to be the best neighbor we can. Looking at ways that we can reduce noise, odor, traffic considerations from our own facilities so that we aren't viewed by the neighboring community as a negative. So those are some of the general concepts. I also have Melinda Bartlett here with me to talk about some of the very specific things we're doing, particularly in areas that have been identified as areas where environmental justice concepts need to really be applied specifically.
Good afternoon,
Good
Melinda
afternoon.
Bartlett.
Welcome.
So one of the programs that I am working on is tree planting, creating these greenways in environmental justice communities specifically. I've been fortunate enough to receive funding over the last couple of cycles from AB 32 greenhouse gas reduction funds that must be spent in disadvantaged communities according to the Cal Enviro screen. So we are working on that. We have planted and working on using the grant money to essentially open up the sidewalks so that we create new wells. Last week we were awarded $1 million. We'll be working in the Northeast Valley and looking at specifically Vineland is our street, our target street, and we hope to open up those tree wells and then reach into the community. Anybody who lives within a DAC, within that disadvantaged community, is eligible for a tree funded through our program in partnership with City Plants. So we're doing a mix and match of the trees and labor. We are going out and talking to the community members and trying to encourage them to increase that green space, creating these greenways as far and wide as we can possibly do it. We've been working in South LA over the last year. We've completed Vermont, and we're working on Hoover, and a little piece of this new $1 million will go on Figueroa, and then we're going to march through the valley where it's critical that we get these homes as much shade and create these walking spaces. We also have the cleanup, green up programs within several communities. We have an ombudsman ambassador who is going out and working with the community members and the business members, giving them options, looking at ways to improve their communities and listening and trying to find solutions without being an inspector that goes out just to find them, but seeking information from what each of the inspectors are looking for, and then trying to do a more holistic approach in creating a better space for the homes there.
And one of the things we're really focusing on with the Cleanup Green Up program, which has one dedicated staff member, is really integrating that into our existing programs and using them as a force multiplier for it. The inspectors for our industrial waste permits, for our stormwater permits, having them be additional eyes out there. And we're really looking at the businesses for Cleanup Green Up sort of in three tiers. One, there are some folks out there that are doing a great job, and we want to recognize that. See if we can get them a green business certification, for instance, to really recognize the folks that are out there doing the right thing. Then we're looking for the category of folks that want to do the right thing, but maybe they don't quite know what that is, or maybe they don't quite have the resources. And how can we get them that information, get them the training? How can we look for micro grants that can be used for those folks who want to do the right thing and just need a little bit of help? And then the third category are the folks who aren't the good actors. And then we're looking at it from more of a perspective We've done work with the Environmental Justice Unit at the City Attorney's Office for the folks that aren't interested in doing the right thing, and perhaps have activities that rise to that level where we need the City Attorney's Office looking at it. But obviously, as much as possible, we want to help the ones who want to do the right thing and just need a little bit of assistance. And so we look at our inspectors as being all those eyes and ears out there and feeding that back to our cleanup green buds person to be able to help them make those connections. Our industrial waste inspectors have also rolled out this fantastic program that they're doing with the LA business community in the area of green chemistry, and trying to help provide resources so those businesses can look at more environmentally friendly ways of doing their business. We're not interested in driving business out of Los Angeles. We want to keep business here, and we want to keep them operating here in a very green and responsible manner. So that's been a fantastic program, actually an award-winning program. They won an award for that this year. So we really are looking at rolling that out and trying to get as many folks as possible those sorts of tools and knowledge that they need to be able to operate in a more environmentally friendly way that we can also show them as also economically beneficial for them as well.
All right. Members, do you have any questions on item 1 before we ask Mr. Koretz, before we move on to item number 2?
Yes, and I wanted to thank you, Madam Chair, and Mr. Weezer, who was in my previous committee in housing, for introducing this motion. I don't think we've talked about this issue enough in this committee in the past. I think it's critical, and especially in light of climate change and the fact that it will probably impact our lower income communities the most harshly. I'm glad we're looking at tree canopy, and wasn't entirely clear to me if we're looking at tree poor areas and low income areas, if those are mutually the same or exclusive or not. I wonder if you could speak to where the tree poorest areas of the city are and how we can correct for that quickly.
They do frequently go hand in hand. And certainly the low-income business corridors are the worst. And you see people struggling to catch a bus. Again, these are areas that the public is dependent on public transportation, and we really want to make it walkable and livable in these areas. And it's very expensive, and so that's where the grant can come in and complement the other work. We can provide the cut and the water, and then we just let people know we're coming through, and we're going to do a whole greenway. We're going to do the entire street, and if a business person is worried about their signage, we let them opt out. And quite often, once they see what we've done, they're like, oh, maybe I do want one now. Can you come back and do it for us? But we're doing everything we can to increase that canopy, and specifically in the environmental justice communities.
And also an environmental justice issue, even though it's not in Los Angeles, but now that we're in the process of shutting down the Navajo generating station and the coal plant in Arizona, have we contemplated doing anything to thank the Navajo Nation for providing us energy for the last 50 years? And have we given any thought to placing any of our more environmentally friendly sources of generation in that area to help maintain jobs there?
Do we have some folks from Department of Water and Power who would care to comment on that?
If not, maybe they can come back and we can have that conversation. And also, I'm pleased that we've put our 3 gas plants and repowering those on hold as well. So at some point, we might want to talk about whether we can quantify the positive impacts of that on our local air quality and on our citizens.
Mr. Koretz, we're having a similar discussion regarding this very question at our next meeting. Just want to make sure everyone's aware of that.
Perfect.
It's been scheduled, so I don't.
Great. in which case,
in case
let's do it
the
then.
staff isn't here to answer all your questions.
And otherwise, just thank you for moving forward on this.
Great. Do you want to just move on to item 2 then? You can start the presentation. Do you
Sure.
have to turn off the lights?
No, unless we have made copies also, so
Yeah, I
if
have.
this is visible, we can proceed. Okay.
If you two cannot sit there quietly without interrupting this meeting, I'm going to ask you to leave. Childcare facilities are not here, and it's not being provided today. So you can either choose to stay here quietly or you can leave.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Councilmember Koretz. I'm Alex Halou. I'm Alex Halou. I'm the Assistant General Manager for LA Sanitation.
Excuse
You know
me.
what, we're done.
You-
Sergeants, can you escort Mr. Spindler out of our meeting? He's constantly disrupting this meeting. He started
And
about...
just for the record-
Don't worry about the quorum. I'm running the meeting. Thank you very much. You are done. You're not running the meeting, Mr. Spindler. You're not here to...
Committee
provide
meetings
an
don't
opinion.
need a quorum to continue their work.
We voted on our items that we
correct.
need a quorum for. We know... Excuse me. Thank you very much. Next time we need your opinion, we'll solicit it. You're done. Mr. Herman, you can join them with your goat noises, too. You're done. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us. Thank you very much. You're done. Both of you are done.
Can you just say that Mr. O'Farrell left the meeting?
Mr. Spindler, you're done. Thank you very much. Sergeants, can you please escort these gentlemen out the door so we can continue with our meeting? Thank you. I'll see you there too, Mr. Spindler. Thank you very much. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
It's called First Amendment rights. You want to clarify the quorum question, just in case?
Yes, Madam Chair. Actually, City Attorney could chime in, but generally speaking, the committee can meet without a quorum. Any actions taken by the committee can be forwarded to the council as communications from the chair.
Thank you very much. We can continue our meeting.
All right. I'm sorry. Good afternoon again, Madam Chair, Honorable Councilman Koretz, Alex Halou, Assistant General Manager for LA Sanitation. I'm joined today by Dr. Rowena Romano on my left and Martin Ruiz. And we're excited to be here to present about our zero waste program. We as a city have achieved over 76% diversion of material from landfills. However, we're not stopping there. Our goal is to reach 90% diversion by 2025. Martin is going to do a quick presentation, and we're going to explain what we've done so far, the exciting programs that are going on right now in the city, and what the future plan, and we'll be open to any questions and answers you might have. Martin?
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Martin Ruiz. I'm here to present the Solid Waste Integrator Social Plan to this committee. SWIRP, Solid Waste Integrator Social Plan, better known as a zero waste plan, is a long-term plan to help the city achieve zero waste by 2025 using a combination of policy, program, and facilities. The SWIRP document and the program environmental report are testimony of the City of Los Angeles leadership to protect the environment and the health of all Angelinos. Our SWIRP work began in 2007 by identifying the stakeholders. SWIRP identified the stakeholders by meeting with pastors, church leaders, labor unions, elected officials, corporate managers, and small and big business owners and managers, and NGOs and environmental groups and justice organizations, such as Freeing the Los Angeles River, Paicoma the Beautiful, the Sierra Club, and Heal the Bay. Once SWIRP identified these stakeholders, the stakeholders were invited to participate in the regional workshops and citywide conference. SWIRP had several regional meetings in North Valley, East Valley, North Central, South Los Angeles, West Los Angeles, and the harbor area. SWIRP stakeholders established their vision in 2008 by adopting these 12 guiding principles. These guiding principles were developed by bringing together more than 3,000 stakeholders throughout the city during more than 250 meetings, workshops, and citywide conferences. These 6 elements are planned as elements on the plan. These plan elements are the expanding of existing residential and commercial programs, implementation of upstream and downstream policies and programs. Mandatory implementation of mandatory programs, developing of processing facilities. At the last, but equally important, is the disposal of remaining residential waste to local or remote landfills. The city wanted to reach a 75% diversion by 2015, but the city reached that goal 2 years prior in 2013. Right now, the city is at 76% diversion with the policy, program, and facility that are up and running today. Looking into the future and to achieve the goal of 90% diversion by 2025 and 97% diversion by 2030, the city will need to continue existing and mandatory programs and upstream policies. Will also require the development of new recycling, composting, anaerobic digestion, and black facilities. The SERP program will reduce greenhouse emissions by 2.6 million tons and will create 4,000 jobs by 2030. Program Environmental Impact Report, or PERIR, was prepared for a series of actions that can be characterized as one large project. The analysis was programmatic in nature. Additional site sequence analysis will require as facilities are developed. These state regulations were developed after the SERP. While the state is developing programs to reduce greenhouse emissions and to divert materials from the landfill, the city already has programs that address these issues. In few words, the city does not need to catch up with the state, but the state needs to catch up with the city. And as an example, SB 32 requires California to reduce greenhouse emissions by 40% below 1990 levels. By 2030, the major sustainability plan calls to reduce greenhouse emissions by 45% below 1990 base levels. As also AB 341 address commercial businesses. They require mandatory recycling program. AB 1826 require promise to have organic mandatory program to collect their food waste. SB 1383 is regarding the short-lived climate pollutants. Establish a statewide goal of 50% organics diverted from the landfill disposal by 2020, 75 by 2025. The main short-lived climate pollutants are black carbon, methane, and stratospheric ozone, which are the most important contributors to the human enhancement on the global greenhouse effect after CO2. Another short-lived climate pollutant includes some of the hydrocarbons, HFCs.
Okay, thank you, Martin. And I just wanted to add to his presentation, highlight some of the programs that LA San has implemented recently, starting with the single-use plastic bag ban, council championed by Councilman Koretz back in 2011. He presented a motion in council to adopt a citywide policy to ban single-use carry-out bags, and that was implemented in June 2013 when the city adopted that plastic bag policy. As we all know, the exclusive commercial franchise program is kicking off next month, July 1st, and that franchise system will help LA to increase commercial recycling rates, reduce pollution, and enhance material recovery opportunities. In addition to those programs, LA San has also implemented mattress recycling programs in line with SB 254 and SB 1274. We recently have partnered with the Mattress Recycling Council to also help remove illegally dumped or abandoned mattresses on the streets and receive some revenue from that through that program. We've also have tire recycling programs in which the city has developed and implemented drop-off programs for the residents where they can drop off tires over at our yards as well as at our open houses. We have amnesty programs, and of course, this LA San going out and collecting tires that are abandoned or illegally dumped as well. We have also worked on expanding materials that can go into our Blue Bin program. Most recently, we worked with the Carton Council for Tetra Pak to be able to add that to the Blue Bin, recover them, and also have markets for that material. More recently, we're working on expanding the organic waste collection programs. In line with AB 1826, LA San has been working with LAX to help the airport with their food service establishments to recycle the food scraps that are produced there. So we just most recently in April this year have worked with them to collect food scraps from 4 of their concession stands and looking to expand that as the program goes on. And per the Mayor's Sustainability Plan and SB 1383, as Martin mentioned, with the diversion of organics from the landfill, LA San is conducting 2 residential pilot programs this year. The first one is looking at food waste prevention and food scrap recycling. This is basically letting the residents put food scraps into their green bin, and then we're going to be evaluating that type of program. And another program is looking at using your household in-sync food waste system that you already have, and how much food waste we can divert through the sewer system or conveyance system, and then producing biogas or electricity over at our water reclamation plants. Also with the commingled green bin and food waste program, we're looking at, producing beneficial, reusable products as well as energy using composting facilities and anaerobic digestion. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Alex.
Any questions?
I had several questions. So can you go back and mention, I don't know if you did this in your presentation, I don't see it. What have you done in terms of identifying or propose, or what you've proposed for with regards to new facilities that you're going to need?
The program EIR identified the needs the city has. We generate 14.1 million tons a year of waste, 76% of that. That leaves us, Madam President, with about 3.4 to 3.7 million tons of waste that's going to the landfill. Mm-hmm. When we looked at the commercial franchising, they are required to remove about 1 million ton out of the 2.4 million coming from the commercial stream. And they would need to have anaerobic digestion facilities. They would need composting facilities that we need to be looking at implementation. As Dr. Romano mentioned, our highest and best use is to reuse that material. So what we are telling all the franchisees, all the 7 franchise service providers, you are required first and foremost hire nonprofits, organization, and food reuse to take that material out before it goes to the bin. Mm-hmm. Whatever is left that cannot be humanly consumed, that material now will go into either anaerobic digestion or composting. Currently, we do have a map that shows where these facilities are. The bulk of them are outside the city of Los Angeles.
So your needs, from what I understand in your plan, there's about 10 to 15 total new facilities that you will need, right? So you do have a map that shows where you've identified. What I'm getting to is I want to know to what extent you have, what kinds of considerations you took into, what you considered when you were setting these locations, and whether you are taking into consideration specifically as it relates to communities that have already been overburdened. So I want to see a map of where these locations are.
Yeah, the exact locations, we have not identified the exact location because once you identify,
you have some idea.
We have an idea what is available in the region and what.
You know what I'm saying, right? Are you going to continue to overburden communities that have historically been overburdened with these types of facilities?
Absolutely. Madam Chair, back in July of 2014, you introduced a motion directing LA Sanitation to work with the Sun Valley Working Group. Mm-hmm. We met with the group on multiple occasions. They gave us 11 items that they wanted to include in the facility certification plan. Those 11 items are incorporated into our plan, including employee safety, facility enclosure for transfer, safety and training of employees, dust, odor, and litter programs, the waste scale, compliance with all laws. So all these facilities will have to incorporate these. Right now, we are relying on Hyperion treatment plant for our sewer conveyance. We have enough digester capacity at Hyperion to produce electricity. And we're relying on two companies right now outside the city of Los Angeles. One of them is in Paris, where they're taking the food waste from LAX. LAX has a unique program. They take the food that could be consumed, they donate it. The food that cannot be consumed, we collect it in sanitation. We transfer it to Paris.
Are those the only 4 concessionaires that you spoke about?
Well, there's 2 terminals. Okay. We're starting the pilot on Earth Day, Terminal 7 and Terminal 8. And so the Hudson Group, they donate the food that they could donate. Whatever is not, these are the ones we're collecting, and then if the program is successful, and we expect, we met actually with LAX, and they want to expand it to the entire airport. Okay. So again, we just started on Earth Day collecting the material. So that material now is beneficially reused. It's shipped long distance down to Paris in Riverside. And over there, they put it in a digester, they capture the gas, and then they're putting it back into their fleet to operate. Mm-hmm. They have capacity to take over 1,000 tons a day. Right now, we're starting with about 20. We plan to increase to about 124. And after that, we can go up to 1,000. So the second facility is Rainbow Disposal. It's also down in Huntington. And they have capacity up to 500. Right now, we're starting with about 60 tons a day. However, to reach the 90% diversion, we do need to look at other facilities. But before we proceed, we needed the approval of the program EIR, that this is the plan. The composting facility, it could range in size. It could be 1, could be 15, depends on the size. The same thing with anaerobic digestion.
So does this map have you identified the potential 10 to 15 new facilities that you're going to need? Is this what this map is, or what is this map?
This map shows where the material could be. This map has 3 colors, the black, the blue, and the green. Uh-huh. The black is where the material could be going from the refuse. The green is the operations that will be coming online or in the process being built, like in Lancaster and other. And the blue is for the recycling. So, for example, in Sun Valley, we know that Waste Management is planning to put a facility that would be able to take green waste and then ship it along with food waste, all the way to Lancaster.
So in Sun Valley, I see there's Bradley. Is it just my glasses, or is this print is extremely small?
Unfortunately, the print is small.
It's really, okay. It's not my eyes. Okay, good.
No, it's
my
not.
My glasses are fine. So Athens is one, Recology is the other, and Bradley East Processing Transfer Station, which is Waste Management, I assume?
That's correct.
Okay, so those are the 3. And the ones in blue are the blue bin facilities, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And the black is basically the landfills, like also Bronte, which is in the right corner, as well as the other facilities that are being built.
Mr. Koretz, do you have any questions?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. So how large is the pilot to start on the organics?
So we have 2 pilot programs. The first one, the in-sync food waste disposal system one, that's going to be about 519 homes in the West LA area. And then the second one with the commingled food waste and yard trimmings, we're going to be piloting that in South LA, West LA, and East Valley, and with a total of about 12,000 homes.
We selected the West LA region council member because of its proximity to Hyperion. The InSync has been tried in several cities on the East Coast, in Philadelphia and New York. And what we wanted to understand is what is the decomposition of the material as it leaves the house to the plant? What is the emissions? What are degradation? And how much biogas will be able? So we'll be doing a lot of modeling and a lot of sewer analysis as we go through the system. So this way we'll be able to put our gradient and understand the generation and how much electricity will be able to harvest at Hyperion so we can use it for the repowering of the plant.
I'm assuming at some point in the distant future, we'll be looking at collecting food waste from every single home in the city of Los Angeles, I would hope, and every single business. Is that the vision for the final step in this, and how far off do we think we are from that?
Absolutely. There is the two programs going on basically side by side, although on the sanitation side, residential, we're a little bit ahead of the commercial side right now. But we can transfer the knowledge and experience we're gaining from this pilot to them. On the residential side, we service 750,000 residential customers every single week. So the pilot that Dr. Romano spoke about is going to start by educating the residential customer about reducing the amount of food they're purchasing, and then the material they cannot consume, if they can donate it. If they can't donate it, they have two options. They can either put it down the sink or they can put it in the green bin. We will take it to a composting or anaerobic digestion facility. On the commercial side, there is about 80,000 accounts that we have. These are basically commercial accounts. And right now, based on the exclusive franchise system, they are required to reduce by 1 million ton of material that's going to the landfill. If you can go to the next slide. We did, I know this is even smaller, sorry, but we did the waste composition at what's happening at the landfill. Out of the 3.4 million tons, what's coming in? Basically what you could see, the organics and...
Are the organics the orange?
Yes. So if you add the organics and you take also the paper, as well the wood, and the green waste, there's about 68% of the material could be removed. If we could remove that material out, we will be able to achieve about 92% diversion from landfills. And the challenge becomes to us, you're right, is about the infrastructure. Where are we going to be putting these facilities? We need to be conscientious about all the important points, the proximity to schools, proximity to residents, hospitals. These are basically points that we look into, and to be able to look in the environmental justice side and not burden one community. Again, we are on the leading edge. We're testing electric trucks. We have an order for 4 more electric vehicles we're going to be purchasing with the potential of another 40, not in the too distant future. So we're looking at what we could do as a city to reduce our emissions. And so it's all of them kind of a little bit, too many programs going on, but this is really what the residents told us from the zero waste. They said, we want you to lead by example. We need you to look at the new technology. We need you to reduce the amount of trash going to landfills. And we believe the SWRP program EIR gives us that.
And we think we can create these facilities without an undue burden on the surrounding areas, I'm assuming, in terms of pollution and all of that.
That's really what our goal is, to find locations. We do not want to overburden communities. And if we can design them smartly, like some of them already been designed, and make sure that it's enclosed, have proper ventilation, that we are good neighbors, we're not queuing trucks on the street, there is no dust, and mitigating all these things, I think we can achieve it.
Very good. And I don't know, on composting, have we looked at what New York City is doing? Because I've heard that they're pretty far ahead and doing well in that arena.
Yeah, we actually, the director for the sanitation department for New York was here about a couple weeks ago, and she was sharing with us her experience in New York. They have a different system than we do, is that they're general funded, they're not rate payers, so their budget is like over $1 billion, just the sanitation department. And then what they did, they targeted locations where they have community parks, and they educated their residents about taking the food, like the vegetables, put them in the freezer, take it later on to a community gardens. The environmental regulations in LA is slightly different, so we're working with the LEA group and Car Recycle about how much material can they accept. The limitation of that program is that they cannot accept dairy products, they cannot accept meat, and so they're only concentrating on vegetables. The Board of Public Works and their Commissioner Heather Penning is leading a task force to see how we can implement part of that program in the city of Los Angeles. So we'll be able to offer it to our residents. For those who have only food waste, they can bring it to those locations. For those who have meat, dairy, and stuff, then the green bin is very convenient. They can put it in that one.
What does New York do for meat, dairy, and everything else?
They do separate collection through a pink bin, I believe. There's a separate bin for that one, but they haven't rolled it citywide, but they are in the process.
Oh, okay.
And they use anaerobic digestion for that one. And a lot of their waste right now is basically shipped outside the state, but then they have locations like Fresh Kills and others, landfill, where they can do these technologies.
Are we looking at doing that kind of thing with a pink bin or a different bin for the food waste?
You know, we looked at it. There is great things about it, and there is some challenges with it. It's great to have a separate bin just for the food. The issue now becomes that you need a separate truck to go in and pick up that bin, which increase our greenhouse gas, which increase, now we need cost for bins, as well as the fuel. The program we have, we give residents a small pail that they put on the kitchen sink, and they can put the material into it. We also did a study about a couple years ago. If we can combine the green waste with the food waste, there is less emissions that can be absorbed by because green material really smells if you have it over the weekend and then sits in the truck, is kind of basically being cooking. So we found out when you mix it with food, it kind of reduces that. It's kind of, opposite attracts in a way. They work well together.
Interesting.
So we want to reduce the number of trucks. A lot of residents don't have another space for another bin. So we're trying to make it whatever we can make it convenient. But if we find out during the study that some people prefer to have maybe a bin that's only for food instead of a green bin because they don't have a big yard or something, then we'll look into that one.
Or maybe they have a bin for their home that's a little pink bin, and they dump it in the green bin and combine it.
Yeah, we could. I mean, that's the small pail. We forget to bring it with us.
It's not very big. It's about this big.
Yeah, but you scrub it every day, and then you put it in.
And last question, have we done anything to work with manufacturers to see if they can reduce the amount of packaging that is difficult to recycle, or items that combine things unintelligently that could be redesigned to make them more recyclable? We continuously reach out to different manufacturers what we could do. The Carton Council was a perfect example. They spend resources and energy and funding to be able, because for a long time the milk carton has the wax paper, has the paper inside it, but also it has the sugar, which was not recyclable. So between the combination of Tetra Pak and the Carton Council, they came up with a way to recycle. We definitely need to keep working with them, Council, about how we can reduce the amount of packaging that's coming in, because it makes business sense on the front end. That's less cost for them. And we're seeing right now with the waste is also changing because of Amazon and other things. We're seeing more boxes because now people, doing a lot of shipping of the products. So we used to go to the store, pick up the stuff. Now they just get their shoe in a box. And we can talk about the packaging that we spoke about.
Is that only the milk packaging? Because water is being packaged the same way. Have you seen that box water?
Yeah.
It looks like a milk carton.
Exactly.
But that doesn't have the sugar issue, so I guess that would be easier to recycle.
Right, and it's like the septic, those Horizon, I think it's like...
The Horizon milk?
Yeah, and I know every time we go to Starbucks, my kids love to get them. And
it's organic.
It's organic, exactly, but it wasn't recyclable for a long time because it's made of 7 layers inside it. But we were able to work with it.
So it's interesting. The product itself is organic, but then we can't figure out how to recycle the packaging. Where to go?
Yeah, but now it is recyclable, luckily. But you're right. For a long time it was not.
It's expensive, too.
Yep.
The milk.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's expensive.
And it seems like there's a lot of products where paper and plastic are included, and they're clearly not designed for recyclability, and they easily could be if the manufacturers were motivated and if we had those conversations. So.
Definitely.
And that's all I have. This sounds great.
Well, congratulations. I really think that your work and your accomplishments to date have really been amazing. Again, I've said this before, LA sets the tone across the state and the county in terms of fulfilling our environmental obligations, and I'm very proud of our leadership. I just want to make sure that that commitment and that leadership penetrates into our neighborhoods, and making sure that we are particularly paying attention to those heavily overburdened communities, which is what I very very much care about. But Mr. Koretz, I wanted to propose that we keep item 1 and 2 in committee for further discussion. I just have additional instructions, so if I can read those into the records. So we're, again, recommending that items 1 and 2 be kept in committee for further discussion. I want to request that sanitation to update the solid waste integration resource plan, since the current plan was dated back in October of 2013, and that we have yet to adopt the program EIR. I want to request sanitation to develop a definition of environmental justice along with a set of proposed policies, criteria that can be adopted to ensure environmental justice is a formalized principle of the City of LA. Request sanitation to incorporate the definition and the policies and criteria into SWRP. Request sanitation to report back on ways to strengthen the program EIR to capture those EJ definitions and principles into the WRP itself, as well as the program EIR that needs to be adopted. And I want to also request that the CLA's office provide assistance as needed as well. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay with you, Mr. Kurtz?
Sounds great.
So we're going to go ahead and keep these 2 items in committee. And I don't have any more cards. I didn't close public comment earlier, but is there anyone else here that wants to make a comment, fill out a card? Great. Well, then that adjourns our meeting. Thank you very much for coming. Sorry about the earlier interruptions, but you see how nice it was